some acting shit right there. All right, welcome to the Quotes and Mirrors podcast. I am Tyrell James.
I am King Oglesby.
And so we're doing things a little bit differently. I know you normally used to seeing me and on commentary do this podcast, but on commentary he has to take some time off for a little while. He'll be back later, but just got to get some things in order, and then he'll be back. So until then, we're going to have a few guest hosts.
He's going to sow his royal oats.
No, he has enough kids. He has enough kids.
Don't we all, man? Don't we all?
No, don't y'all all.
Oh,
okay?
yeah, that's right. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so today's quote is, sometimes pain doesn't need to be fixed, it needs to be felt. The reason I wanted to do this, I was, I'm in therapy, and I was speaking to my therapist about it, and she's, I'm used to trying to look at the cameras when I'm doing that podcast. I can talk to you.
We're just a conversation between us two.
Right.
We got to be talking. Don't worry about the camera.
Right. Yeah, ain't no cameras going.
Yeah.
So, I was talking to my therapist, and I was explaining to her about how I'm such a fixer. I fix everything, everybody around me. Anytime anybody has a problem, I'm quick to just run and fix it.
Okay.
And in doing that, I've kind of neglected myself.
Oh, okay.
And I was telling her that even my wife was saying the same thing. She said, "Who takes care of Tyrell?" She said, my wife said, "I try to do my best. I do what I can, but there are things that, that are really out of my hands, out of my control, that I need to be taken care of."
Yeah.
So I was sharing that with my therapist, and my therapist said, she said, "What is it about you that makes you feel like you have to fix everything?" And I said, "Well, you know what? I think part of the problem is when I see somebody who is hurting or somebody who is in need, and I have a solution, to me, I'm doing that person a disservice by not providing the solution, or just coming in and fixing the issue." And then she asked me, she said, "Well, sometimes do you go try to fix things without even mentioning it to the person or without asking them if they want your help?" And I said, "Yeah, I do."
Okay.
And she said, two things she said that really, really stuck out to me. Number one, she said, a lot of the people that you were trying to fix, or a lot of people who have issues that you're trying to fix, she said, these people are grown. They'll be okay. She said, anytime that you're trying to fix so much for other people that you lose sight of taking care of yourself, you have to realize that these other people, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
They'll be okay. But then the next thing she said was, the other thing is sometimes pain doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be felt.
Okay.
And I was like, whoa. I said, okay.
I was going to ask you what's the origin of that quote.
Yeah, that's where that came from.
Because I've never really heard that quote before, but,
And I asked her, I said, did somebody else say that quote? Or is that, something that you said? And she said, I don't know. She said, I may have heard some variation of that quote in the past, but I mean, and she said it in a way to make it her own.
Okay.
She said, but she doesn't remember. I can't quite give her credit for it because she doesn't want her name being put out there.
Oh, my God. She shall remain anonymous.
Yeah. But we also have to be careful. Even though it's me saying it, we also have to be careful of the things that are shared in therapy, because I don't want to cross any lines where it now becomes a violation of privacy.
Of course, yeah.
And we're that Hippocratic.
So give me an example of, because we all know pain is how we grow.
Right.
You can't grow without pain.
Right.
It's no way. It's impossible. Even when you're physically growing, there is some pain involved or anything like that. So give me an example of a time where you think that a certain pain has to be felt in order for you to, a certain pain that needs to be fixed, as opposed to a pain that doesn't need to be fixed.
Where it needs to be fixed and not felt, you mean?
Yeah. Like we know, like ass whippings are pains that need to be felt. and we hoping that those ass whippings will fix something. You know what I mean? But what is an example of pain? Because when you say sometimes, you mean sometimes that pain is, you might feel pain that doesn't need to be fixed.
Right.
What's the correlation between the two?
I think sometimes, let's say that there is a situation that a person has gotten themselves into, but it wasn't because of them. Mm-hmm. Maybe there were circumstances, outside of their control, and they had somebody. Maybe they need some help. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's a situation that needs to be fixed. Let's say somebody falls on hard times. They say somebody loses their job, and they need some money.
Okay.
So, and somebody comes like, listen, I got you. I'm going to help you get on your feet. So they come in and they're fixing the problem until the person is able to get on their feet. But the person losing their job, if it's not because of anything that they did to lose their job, they may not necessarily need to feel that pain, because there isn't necessarily a lesson that needs to be learned as a result of them doing something to lose that job. Okay,
so will you feel like, say, if a person commit a crime, the pain that from the consequences of that, do you think that necessarily is a pain that they need to feel?
Yeah.
That needs to be fixed.
Right. Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, it also depends on the crime, though.
Yeah.
Because if I beat somebody up and it is, you know what? I don't want to use that example. If somebody is selling drugs because of their circumstances, we know that it's a crime. We know that it's wrong, right? But let's say somebody is just, perfect example. I got some cousins that grew up in certain neighborhoods. Mother was strung out on drugs. Father was also strung out on drugs, but also in and out of jail. At 10 years old, he felt like he had to be the man of the family.
Okay.
He had to hold things down, so he started hustling. He dropped out of school. He started hustling. Now, yes, it's a crime, but
his crime has purpose.
His crime has purpose.
Okay.
And it's not one of those things where, you're doing wrong. And the thing is, he hated every moment of hustling and tried to work towards getting to a point where he could just get a regular job. But it was hard, because before he turned 18, he was already in and out of jail. So now he has a record. So now it's hard for him to get jobs.
Okay.
And because of that, he's going right back to the streets. So in that instance, I don't necessarily think that the pain needs to be felt, because he's been feeling that pain ever since he was 10 years old. I think in that situation, it's better for that pain to be fixed. Maybe somebody, like if I had the money, if I had a company, let's say Relic Media, our company here, let's say that our company had blown up and we're in a position where I could employ him. Yeah, I'm coming to fix that.
Okay.
I'm coming to fix that. He doesn't need to feel that pain anymore.
Okay. I can go with that. So, let's see.
So sometimes pain doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be felt.
It needs to be felt. Okay, so how I'm seeing that is, say like you said, consequences. If your consequences put you in a situation where you have to do something, and that that thing that you have to do is going to be painful. You know what I mean? You're going to go through this, you're going to make the necessary sacrifices. And we're not always talking about a physical pain. We could be talking about a mental pain or anything like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Say like you're in a relationship and that relationship is bad for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know that when you break that relationship off because you have a certain amount of love for this person, that you're going to feel that pain.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a pain. That's how I see it. Like, that's a pain that you have to go through in order to fix the situation that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. How does that correlate as far as with not fixing something? Like, I'm trying to get a good example of what situation would put you where you have to be in pain that's necessarily not a situation where it needs to be fixed.
Well, that going back to the relationship example, if you're cheating, sometimes you may have to feel that pain so that all right, the next time that I'm in, if you happen to stay with this person, right, the threat of her leaving or the threat of him leaving should be so painful to you that you decide, all right, I'm not going to cheat anymore.
Okay.
So the simple solution, let me not say simple solution, but fixing that situation would be that other person saying, you know what, I'm going to let this slide. I'm fixing this for you. I know you did wrong, but I'm just going to let this slide. Just don't do it anymore. And they don't make you pay for it in any way.
Okay.
So sometimes pain needs to be felt for the purpose of accountability.
So sometimes she needs to leave or he needs to leave to let you feel a little bit of pain.
Right.
In order for you to want to change the situation.
Right. Or at least the threat of them leaving.
Okay.
You need to feel that pain. Or it may even be where you need to see the damage that you've done to them. You need it. If you truly love that person, seeing them in pain should cause you pain as well.
Okay. So when does it get to the point where, how do I put this? When does it get to that point where you feel like the pain has to be that pain has to be inflicted upon that person?
When that person needs to learn a lesson. When that person needs to take accountability. Or when that person, when there needs to be a lesson right there for that person, where there's room to grow, where it needs to be a situation where there are growing pains.
Okay.
Because maybe it may even be a situation where, put it this way. So let's go back to the example of somebody losing their job. In that instance, maybe the pain needs to be felt because the position that the person was in is not the position that they're supposed to be in. Maybe that job was taken away from them because there's something much bigger and better for them. And coming in and fixing that situation for that person is going to give them a level of comfort that is going, because comfort is dangerous. Being comfort, that's very dangerous.
True.
So maybe this person needs to feel uncomfortable so that they can move from that place of discomfort. That's why I'm gonna tell you something. I get excited sometimes when I'm in a place of discomfort.
Okay. Me
because
too. I never like to be comfortable.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I never like to be comfortable.
Yeah, because that tells me the same way you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
There's something bigger.
Once you
better.
become too comfortable, you become too content.
Exactly.
And it keeps you from wanting to do more. It keeps you from wanting to strive for more or strive for better times.
Yep. And then you don't grow.
It's like I've seen people in jobs, when relating to jobs that are in jobs for 20, 25 years. And then that job decides that when you come in that day, you're thinking that you're going to come in, continue to work, do the same thing that you always do. That's the only thing you know how to do. And that job comes in one day and tell you that they're going to shut the plant down or they're going to shut the job down or they're bankrupt or they're closing. Now you're thrown into an uncomfortable situation that you're not ready for.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So, and now you don't know what to do. Now you're scrambling around like you don't know what to do because this is all you know. This is all you've been doing for 20 years. You don't know where to go from there. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I try to think about a situation where, it's like I'm going to relate this to my children. You know what I mean? Where like with a child, you can tell them something 100,000 times, and until you inflict some type of punishment or some type of pain, whether it be an ass whooping, whether it be discipline of taking something away, turning the Wi-Fi off, that usually always works in my household. I'm telling you, when that Wi-Fi go off, nothing gets done. Like they can come home from school and they won't do nothing. They'll try to jump right on the video games, jump right on the TV, on their tablets, on their phones or whatever not. But I'll flick that switch and then you'll start hearing dishes get washed and the trash taken out, you know what I mean? Brooms and things of that nature, you know what I mean? So that's a good example of that, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't want to ever have to do that, but this is the only way to get y'all moving, you know what I mean? So yeah, I can go with that.
Yeah.
I can go with that. So what's an example of the opposite? When, what's the opposite of that?
I guess the opposite is just switching the words around. Sometimes pain needs to be fixed and not felt.
All right. So give me an example of that.
So that goes back to that example, like with my cousin. Like, like I feel like that pain right there needs to be fixed.
Okay.
And not felt. Because I mean he was just dealt a bad hand. It was, and that, man, there's a million people out there with that story.
Yeah.
That's why I listen to people when they talk, they're so hard on hustlers, people doing legal things. And I'm like, you can't tell me what you won't do if you're in that situation.
Yeah,
if
that's
everything's
true.
taken from you and you have absolutely nothing. If at 10 years old, you're hungry. And your mother is strung out on drugs and your father is strung out on drugs and he's in and out of jail. And you don't know where your next meal is coming from, what you going to do?
Yeah.
That pain right there, that shouldn't be felt by a 10-year-old.
Yeah, that's true.
True. So, and it may be because I'm an empath, but hunger is one of those things I felt like shouldn't be felt by anybody.
That's true. That's true.
Even my worst enemy, I want my worst enemy to have a full stomach when I whip their ass. But I mean, just, there's certain things I feel just need to be felt.
Yeah.
I mean, fixed. Need to be fixed. It's like a homeless person walks up to your car and giving the money. It's not a permanent fix, because once they use the money that I've given them, now they back to needing some more money. But it could be a fix for the moment, because they could be hungry at that moment.
So do you think in these situations where you feel like pain needs to be felt, whether it be mental or physical or spiritual, because there is spiritual pain as well.
Yeah.
How does that pain, do you think that them feeling that pain will actually fix the issue? Is that pain the fix?
In a lot of instances, yes.
Yeah,
because what happens is you feel the pain and you decide, I don't want to feel this pain. So you fix the situation.
Okay.
Like going back to the whole cheating thing. Like I cheated and I lost the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm going to use my parents, for example. I was talking to my mother one time and I was telling her, because we were talking about how, things were between her and my father. Now, my parents separated when I was 6 years old. My father passed in 2013. And, but they never got divorced.
Oh, wow.
But of course they both moved on with their lives, right? But when my father passed, the two of them, after they got past all the nonsense, they were like the best of friends. My parents used to greet by kissing on the lips.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and there was nothing between them, but that's how they would greet, right?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say they were probably still doing other things as well.
They were. And I'm going to tell you how I know they weren't, because my mother or father would have told me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we just got that kind of relationship.
Okay.
They would have told. Matter of fact, so when my father in his last days, my father got to the point where it was getting harder for him to take care of himself. He had cancer, and my mother became his caretaker. He came to her house. He was staying
love
there.
Right there. That's love.
Yeah. So while they were in the bed, because he would sleep in the bed with her. He said, your daddy over here trying to get something from me. I told him, we ain't like that. Because he's still a man.
Of course.
And that was still his wife.
Of course.
So he's still, but when I was younger, and I remember, man, there would be times for me and my father, we sitting there, we both in tears trying to figure out how to get mommy back.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Man.
And I told my mother, I said, I know that, in the back then, because, her feelings had changed. She loves them to death. But back then, he was a nuisance to her and she was sick of it. And, she didn't want to be with him. She was sick of the cheating. She was sick of him not coming home at night, sometimes. And then, of course, now he wants her back. And, he's feeling that pain. And for her he got to feel that pain. Now, hopefully that fixes things for him in the future, but it ain't going to work with me now.
That would be both of them feeling pain, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. And
because I'm pretty sure it was painful. It was painful for her to to dissolve that, or to tell him that you have to go, you know what I mean, or that to leave in that situation. You know what I mean?
And I would have to ask her that at that point when she was ready to walk away. I don't know how painful it was, just because one thing I've learned about women, sometimes when a woman knows that it ain't gonna work, she'll start letting go.
Yeah.
Before she walks away.
Yeah.
And then once she gets to that point and she ready to just let go, it's a shock to us, because we like, yo, where did this come from? But we don't realize. So she been letting go this whole time.
She gonna make you that sandwich one day. You ain't gonna have no mayonnaise or cheese on that motherfucker. Right. You just gonna get a piece of bologna with the red tape still around that motherfucker and some dry ass bread.
Right, and she ain't even gonna cut it.
Yeah, ain't no cut. Get the whole sandwich. Yeah. So that's a first sign right there. You know what I mean? Yeah, I get it, man.
But I told my mother back then. I said, Mom, so you're an amazing woman. I said, I know that things, you were annoyed with him, and we were also talking about another guy that she. Because I've only known my mother to be with my father, and then she had a boyfriend after, and other than that, there was nobody else, right? But both men, both my father and her ex-boyfriend, they had similar breakdowns when it was over.
Oh, wow.
Feeling the same type of pain. And I told her. And she was kind of, because she was sick of both of them, at times she could become a little dismissive to their feelings. Not to the point where she's like, whatever, I want you to hurt, because she's not like that at all. She's extremely compassionate. But what I told her was, I said, Mom, you don't know what it's like. I said, I couldn't imagine to have a woman like you and then to all of a sudden not have a woman like you.
Okay.
I said, you are an amazing, amazing person. So to have you in the capacity that they had you, and then to lose you was devastating.
Do you think it was all on them?
I think that what I know about my daddy, man, it was probably all on him with the cheating and stuff like that, and with and her friend. I think that she had gotten, and it's funny that we're talking about this.
I don't want to keep this all on your mom or anything like that, because she may listen to this and be like, "Why the fuck you putting all my business out there like that?"
She's gonna understand. Like, she's so cool. I could call her and she could talk. She'll tell you.
Oh, call her.
She at work. She can't do it.
Oh, I already say we can call. We can call her. Yeah, we can definitely call.
Oh yeah, nah, she don't get off till 5:30. So yeah, but she is it was pain that she also needed to feel to grow.
Yeah, that's true.
So, the thing is, when you are, especially if we look at, now we can take it off of her. So now when we're looking at people who are like younger kids, whatever, right? And we're talking about, like, when I say kids, but I mean like early 20s.
I know what you mean.
Right. You go through a lot of things. There's so much maturing. There's that maturation process that you really have to go through that you haven't reached yet. You don't have the experience. You don't have the wisdom, right? Sometimes it takes the pain to acquire those things. There's so much wisdom in pain.
Yeah, that's true.
And they will, sometimes they may go through something, and now it's like, I thought I loved you, but that ain't love. So the next time I see anything that looks like you, I'm going the opposite way. Wow. I needed to feel that pain so that the next time that something looks like that is coming my way, I'm out of here.
So how much? Okay, so I'm going to use myself as an example in that. You know what I mean? And I agree with that wholeheartedly. You know what I mean? I always reference back to when I got locked up. You know what I mean? I was working. You know what I mean? And I had my high school diploma at 16. You know what I mean? I was working. I was paying bills. You know what I mean? But I started slipping. I started hanging out a little more, you know what I mean? Again, you know what I mean? Hanging out with not the wrong crowds, I don't want to say, but a little more wilder crowd, you know what I mean? I was messing with older women at the time, you know what I mean, that I knew wasn't good for me, because they didn't really have nothing going on.
Right.
And it just got real wild at one time, and I needed that spanking. You know what I mean? To put me back in line. Now, I didn't need to feel 4.5 years of pain.
The women didn't spank you?
No, they wasn't.
Oh, all right.
I was in my 20-year-old. I was in my teenage bag then. I didn't know it was just rabbits fucking in at that time. the old experience I had came from watching porn. You know what I mean? So they would gradually try to teach me something, but you know. But anyway, back to I felt like I needed a stinger at the time, and it actually calmed me down. You know what I mean? For a little bit. It actually humbled me to a lot. 4.5 years to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I sat down for a little while, but I didn't feel like I needed to sit down that long. I felt like 30 days would have been good enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? And not making light of my situation or my crime or anything like that, but I felt like 30 days would have been enough. How do you know how much pain needs to be felt in these situations?
That's a good question. I don't know if there's necessarily a measuring stick for how much pain needs to be felt. I think it's a case-by-case basis. It's one of them things where, let's say, if your kid does something wrong, you may be able to pop them on the hand one time and they get it.
Yeah.
But you also may need to just keep popping them in order for them to get it.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a measuring stick. It's just one of those things where it's a trial and error thing. Like, so maybe if they would have given you 30 days, you would have gotten it. But in their mind, they're like, well, 30 days ain't enough.
Yeah. And adding on to that, how do you know, like, and I think I asked this earlier, like, how do you know when it gets to that point where you feel like that person needs to feel that pain? Like, for example, like, and using kids again, like, do you exhaust every other method beforehand, or do you just go straight to the pain? You go straight to what works? Because I know with my parents, they go straight to the ass whooping. You know what I mean? They'll tell you a couple of times, they'll yell at you, you know what I mean? So it's a level, you know what I mean? Like, they'll ask you, then they'll yell at you, and sometimes it was just a pop in the back of the head,
right?
Straighten up, you understand what I'm saying? But you see parents all the time that will tell their kids over and over and over and over again, and then a lot of times they just give up,
right?
You understand what I'm saying? So, and then how do you know once that pain is inflicted? And mind you, I'm not always talking about physical pain. How do you know that when that pain is inflicted, that it's the right type of pain to inflict?
I think.
Or the right type of pain that needs to be felt. Let me change that up.
I think that comes afterwards, because if they learned the lesson, then you know that it was the right type of pain that needed to be felt. But sometimes it isn't. Like with my son, when he was younger, I can count on one hand how many times I spanked him.
Oh, he was a good kid then.
Yeah. But what happened?
He was an excellent kid, or you was a soft ass parent, one or the other.
That's what happened. One or the other. I got to the point where, for me, I couldn't. It was getting hard for me to spank him. Like I hated it. I hated it. Right. And I said, you know what? Let me try something else, because me and him, we've always been able to communicate. I've always been able to just sit and just talk to him. Right. When I started talking to him, I stopped having to spank him. And when I tell you the last time I spanked him he was probably about 4 years old. And there was no need for me to ever spank him again, because our conversations did it. There were times he told me, he said, Daddy, sometimes I would just rather you spank me than talk to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because that's just how the conversation was.
That's how I was.
Yeah, like the conversation would sting more than the conversation, the words would leave a longer impression, a longer lasting impression than the ass whipping.
We all know that when we was kids, we wanted to get that ass whooping and go. We didn't want to feel that pain, but we'll take that little 3, 4, 5 minutes of pain to be able to go back outside. I used to get a choice. Do you want the ass whooping, or do you want the punishment? You want to stay in the house for the rest of the day, or you want a weak punishment? Oh no, go ahead and get it over with, so I can go back outside. But in that, are you really teaching them a lesson?
Right.
You know what I mean? Are you giving them what they actually need when they actually may need to sit down for a little bit? So how do you even know, and that goes into another question, how do you know what type of pain that someone needs to be felt, and not keeping it on physical all the time as well? But how do you know what type of pain needs to be? How do you necessarily know that me leaving you is going to make you feel that type of pain to make you straighten up, or me leaving you might give you exactly what you want? You know what I mean? You might want that. That might be exactly what you want. You know what I mean? As far as with, if we go back to the cheating aspect of things, you know what I mean? How do I know that that's going to be painful for you? I could say, okay, we need to separate for a little while. Me thinking that that's painful for you is maybe more painful for me than it is for the person that I want to feel that pain.
And sometimes
you understand
it
what
is.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
sometimes
it's a slippery slope when it comes to that kind of stuff.
That whole "this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you" thing, and in a lot of instances, that's.
I never believed my mom when she said that. I never believed her ass when she said that.
But you know what though? I understood it after I became a parent.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you were feeling the pain of being spanked. I'm feeling the pain of inflicting pain on my child.
Yeah.
And that's different. That's a different type of pain.
That's true.
You know, so I mean, I get that. But even in the instance where, like, sometimes if I'm leaving, you know, if I got to leave somebody, I'm not even necessarily doing that for the purpose of you having to learn a lesson. I may need the lesson.
That's true. That's true.
You know, I may need to grow. I may need to feel that pain of not having you so that the next time I see something that looks like you, I know, oh, no, I ain't going anywhere near that.
Yeah. I remember being in my previous marriage and having to file for divorce and just felt like, you know, the first time I did it, I felt like I was convinced that I really wanted divorce, but when now looking back on it, I really didn't want it at that time. It was more something I was doing to try to get you like, look, you need to straighten up, or this is what the consequences is going to be.
Right.
But as more and more gradually as it went on, I knew that it was something that I had to do, and it was a pain that I had to feel. You know what I mean? To get out of the situation wholeheartedly. You know what I mean? I needed to get away from that because it was breaking me down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, I get that quote really, you know, resonates with me a lot. You know what I mean? When I remember when you first told it to me, I was like, I was thinking I don't even have to really research this
Right.
to really talk about this, because we all can relate to, you know what I mean, those type of situations, whether it be you don't want to fix the situation, because at that time I knew I didn't want to fix the situation. I knew that this pain that I was going to feel was going to fix the situation for me.
Right.
I was in hopes that it was going to fix the situation for me. You know what I mean? And it ended up working out good after a bunch of turmoil and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I made that decision. But at first I wasn't willing to go through that pain. You know what I mean? And then I was measuring out, is it going to be more painful for me or more painful for her? Yeah.
I've never dealt with that kind of pain. Of course, I've dealt with breakups, but I've never dealt with it was crazy. So the pain that I felt as a result of cheating was never because she left me. It was because of the pain that I inflicted on her.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The point is, sometimes pain needs to be felt.
It definitely does.
And not fixed. Because sometimes people need to, sometimes it's not up to you to fix the person's issues. Sometimes it's up to them. They need to fix it. Yeah. So they need to feel the pain so that they can make the decision. I remember what I was about to say. When I was cheating.
Okay.
I said a lot of times the pain that I felt wasn't as a result of the person leaving me. The pain was because of the pain that I was inflicting. So I remember when I was with my son's mother, and you know we had her on the show on the King Slayer podcast, and I don't remember if we spoke about my infidelity or not on that show, but you know that's just
we didn't get into detail on it. I wish we had, because that would have been
we can always call her back. But I'm telling you, the relationship there is so great. We can talk about it and laugh about it, joke about it, you know. But the thing is with what was happening was I was starting to feel guilt about what I was doing to her.
Okay.
And I was like, I one or two things has to happen. Either I got to stop cheating. Well, one of three things. I got to stop cheating. I got to leave her. Or I got to do a much better job of not getting caught.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
But the lesson in that came with, you don't have to worry about not getting caught if you ain't doing it.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
And that's where the growth came. Now, I didn't stop, but
obviously,
right. But going into my next relationship, which is where I am now with my wife, now I'm a different person.
Yeah.
But the other thing is this: I didn't necessarily just change for her. I didn't change for women. I didn't change for her, and when I say women, I mean I didn't change for her. I didn't change for the woman that I was going to be with, even before I knew I was going to be with my wife. I didn't change for that. I wanted to change for me, and that's why I feel that pain needed to be felt, because I wanted to be a better person.
Okay.
I wanted to stop inflicting that pain. You know, I wanted to. I remember I used to wonder whether or not I could even be a committed man.
I struggled with that. I struggled with that for a long time. You know, now notwithstanding, like whenever I'm in a relationship and the relationship is all good, I'm like, I do a really, really good job. Like, and I'm just speaking on my past because I don't have to worry about that now, but I really, really would do a good job in not, you know what I mean? I kind of look for excuses to go run around. You know what I mean? I kind of look for things like I kind of if something didn't go right, like if she didn't call me back, you know what I mean, within a good amount of time, or if she was a little late and something wasn't explained, I was like, you know what, she must be out there doing something. And then I was always scared at that time that, because I know a lot of the women that I might have been running around with at the time also had guys. I always had that thing that, what if my woman is the same way?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. That was always in the back of my head, because most of the women that if I did cheat, when I did cheat at that time, most of the women that I cheated on her with had men. You know what I mean? So, and I always was in the back of that mind that, do I want to be faithful and then come to find out that she cheated on me and then I done passed up all this pussy the whole time?
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? So, you know, but once I got into a marriage, you know what I mean, I always made it my values that whenever I was in a marriage, I'm not going to cheat on my wife.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was just always my thing. Like, you know, with just a boyfriend and girlfriend is a different thing. And it's a commitment and everything like that. But we don't have that bond, that marriage bond.
Right.
And until we make that full ultimate commitment, then I didn't feel the need to be necessarily faithful to 100%. You know what I mean? So it could be a time where we would get into an argument, and me and my girlfriend at the time would get into an argument, and on my mind, I'm like, oh no, you know what? This time I'm gonna pay you back. I'm gonna pay you back by going out there, you know what I mean, to jump into something else. So I'm going to the club, you know what I mean, or anything like that. You know what I mean? That was my intentions.
Right.
And come to find out, when I think back on it, you know what I mean, that was me creating a situation just because I didn't want to stay committed. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Because you ain't teaching her nothing if you don't tell her what you're doing.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. Yeah. Painful situations.
Right, yeah. But you know, just dealing with that pain, those growing pains, you know. We came out as Mike Seaver, you know, like those growing pains, and Alan Thicke. Like I'm a better person now, you know. You know,
shit, yeah.
I'm a much better person as a result of the pain. Not just. All right, I'll tell you what. Let's switch gears. I've been through a lot of shit. I have been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, PTSD, and now, as you know, a couple weeks ago, ADHD.
You're a wreck, man.
Yo,
you're
for
mentally
real.
a wreck.
Right.
That is crazy, yeah.
But
do you get a check for any of these things?
Yo, I don't know. I need to look into it, though.
I know, man. All these things. I know people that get checks for depression, and you need to look into that. You might can clean up.
The problem is they may try to medicate me. They be like, if you want this check, you're going to take this medicine. I can lie to them and tell them I'm taking the medicine.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But because of the amount of things, and I started going through shit when I was 10 years old. Actually 6, but more so 10 is when things started getting bad for me. Because of the pain that I felt, I'm now in a position to help other people. Because now I'm a life coach. You know, I'm the therapist for everybody around me, friends and family.
So let me ask you a question, though. Do you and the people that you coach, do you let them know all the things that you were diagnosed with and everything that you've been through? Like, are you very transparent with them? Because I know in therapy, and I'm finally taking therapy, you know what I mean, now, you know what I mean, not one-on-one yet, but you know what I mean, I'm finally taking some type of therapy now, and I can see how it helps to a certain extent.
Right.
But I know with therapists, they can't be transparent as far as with their life and talking to you, which I wish more therapists would, because I'm always on the other end that how can you tell me how to feel, or how can you help me with what I'm feeling if you haven't been through what I've been through?
That's right.
You know what I mean? Or you can't divulge that you've been through what I've been through. You know what I mean? I don't know. So how can you give me therapy? You know what I mean? It's almost like, how can you teach me how to raise a child if you don't have any children?
Kids,
you know what I mean? So, but going back to like, you're more transparent with your clients than, you know what I mean, than a normal therapist would be.
Absolutely.
And,
yeah. And I do that because I want them to understand that I know what pain feels like. I want them also to understand that I was on one side of the pain and now I'm on the other side.
Yeah.
You know,
you're the inflictor of pain.
Right. Well,
I mean, I don't, if you tell them that, they're gonna be like, "What? What you mean? I mean, what do you mean?"
To make it clear, camera, that I was the recipient of the pain, and now I'm no longer the recipient.
Okay, we get it. We got it. I got you now.
Right? Yeah. You know that there have been these obstacles, these mountains that have been placed in front of me, and I've been able to conquer them. I also do that for the purpose of letting them know. One of the things that I tell people all the time is, you should weigh your present and future giants against the Goliaths that you've already slayed. So if I'm about to go through something, if I know that I've been through something worse than this, I ain't about to sweat this.
Yeah.
I've already slayed Goliath. What I look like being upset over a short giant?
Yeah, I feel you.
You know, I've already been through it, or I've already climbed these mountains. I've already conquered. I've already, squashed these obstacles. So at this point, what am I afraid of?
Yeah.
You know, now it doesn't change the fact that there's still a certain level of discomfort that comes with having to deal with those things. But there's a different understanding while you're dealing with it. When you're in the midst of a storm, the only thing that you know is that I'm in a storm. You deal with everything that comes with the storm. I'm dealing with the rain. I'm dealing with the lightning, the thunder, all of the things that are scary, all of the things that are unfavorable when it comes to the storm, right? But what happens is, when you're first going through that storm, when it's your first time ever having to really deal with storms, you're only focused on that, and you completely forget to check the forecast for the next day. And the next day could be a sunny day.
True.
So the next time that you're going through something, now you're more inclined to remember, you know what, tomorrow's going to be a sunny day. This rain ain't going to last forever.
Yeah, my uncle, rest in peace to my Uncle Larry. He was a very smart, intelligent guy, real snappy, real funny and shit. He always had this saying. And he was diagnosed with depression and all that. He dealt with depression when him and his wife had broke up and everything like that, because he was out there fucking around and doing whatever. You know what I mean? But he always had this saying, because he caught me down one day. I was down. I forgot what I was going through at the time. And he was like, look, man, he was like, man, look, I read all these depression books and all these things, took therapy and stuff to try to help me with my depression. But at one point in time, I had to realize I might win the lottery tomorrow. You know what I mean? So he was like, man, I thought about, like, he was like on the verge of suicide. He told me he was on the verge of suicide one day. And then he woke up. He was like, man, fuck that. I might win the lottery tomorrow. You know what I mean? So, and he's like, ever since then, that was his outlook on everything. You know what I mean? Like, the next day, I'm going to wait until the next day to see how the next day is. And it's always up and down, you know what I mean? But you just never know. You know what I mean? You just never know. So,
yeah.
All right. So, but speaking back, going back to pain, like, you said that you dealt with a lot of pain and it helped you through a lot of things. How do you know that you just didn't? How do you know that it fixed your issues that you was going through, as opposed to just you build up a tolerance for all the pain that you were going through?
Well, building up a tolerance in a way is fixing it. You know, like, for instance, with boxing, the very first time I took a punch, that shit hurt. But you punch me now, I built up a tolerance.
Okay.
That fixed that pain. Now I don't feel that pain, the way I felt it before.
But does that make you take on the pain or develop ways of maneuvering and getting around it?
Both.
You know what I mean?
Both, yeah. It does both. It does both. Sometimes it makes you, in a sick way, for me anyway, in a sick way, sometimes it makes me want to feel the pain.
You embrace it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you know that'll make you stronger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like sometimes I get excited. Physical pain too. Like when I'm training somebody and I teach them the proper way to punch and how to turn into their punches, and I tell them, punch me. I want you to punch me, and everybody initially is like, man, I don't want to punch. Like, trust me, just punch me. And they're like, what if I hurt you? And I tell them, good. Because that means that you learn.
Okay.
You know, you learn. So now my pain, you're learning from my pain.
Becomes your lesson.
Exactly.
Okay.
My pain becomes your lesson.
So that you don't have to go through this pain either. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Exactly. You know, and it's going to make you stronger. You know, if I'm training somebody and they know, well, I can hurt him, then you know they're good.
Okay.
You know, it does something for them, to the psyche.
Yeah, I asked that tolerance question and that maneuvering question because, like, say you want somebody to feel a sort of pain to try to help fix the situation. What's going to stop them from either building up the tolerance or just maneuvering around the pain? You know what I mean? You know, they going back to children. You know what I mean? You whip their ass enough, they're going to develop a certain amount of tolerance for those ass whippings.
Right.
To where you're either going to have to inflict more pain or you're going to have to look for a different solution to whatever the issue is or anything like that. And then who's to know that the type of pain that you're trying to inflict, whether it be mental, physical, or anything like that, is the right type of pain that would fix the situation?
Well, like I said earlier, I think that comes after the pain has been inflicted. So now you see, did you learn the lesson?
Because you're only going to know what you know. You're only going to inflict what you know. You know what I mean? You feel like you know what I mean? And I hate to keep using an example of ass whippings, but that's more like that's the best example I can give. You only going to teach what you know. You know what I mean? So if you feel like, and you know yourself that I got a lot of ass whippings and a lot of times it never fixed what the fuck I want to do.
Right.
I would get the ass whipping, go right back outside, go back to doing the same thing. And then next time that I'm doing the same thing, I'm just trying not to get caught now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think you have to learn how to adjust. I think you have to know who you're dealing with. If you're whipping the kid's ass and they keep running and doing the same thing, you have to now adjust. You have to learn, okay, this isn't working. I need to figure out what's going to work. Maybe me beating you ain't it. Maybe I need to start taking stuff from you. Or maybe I just need to sit down and talk to you. Or maybe there's something else that's going on with you and I need to start peeling back layers and I need to get to the root of the problem.
So that goes into saying that it may not necessarily be pain that person needs to feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
now I know what you mean by when you say. Now I know what you mean when you say some pain need to be felt. But say I'm dealing with a racist situation where a person screaming nigger just all in my head. You know, white person screaming nigger in the head. At that point in time, I'm going to want to slap the shit out of them.
Right.
I'm going to feel like the right thing is for them to feel that pain. But you think that slap is going to knock the racism out of them?
No, it's not.
Exactly. But in that moment, you're going to think that they need to feel this pain. They need to feel this get right to know how I feel or anything like that. You know what I mean? Because their words could be cutting me just as hard as I slap the shit out of their ass.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So,
and in that instance, sometimes pain needs to be felt.
Yeah.
And not fixed.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't care about fixing it.
Okay. Exactly. That's what I want to get at.
Yes.
That's what that quote means to me.
Yes.
That's exactly what that quote means to me. When you first told me that quote, that's the first thing I thought about. Okay, like some pain don't need to be fixed. They need to be felt. This dude just need the shit slapped out of him.
Right.
It's not fixing his racism or anything like that, but it could. It could be like, look, I just know I can't be going around calling nigga this and nigga that, or whatever other racial slurs without feeling some type of pain.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? But it's not necessarily fixing the situation, and it can possibly put you in a worse situation.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yep. My homeboy told me, my boy, I ain't gonna say his name, but you know, my boy that my best friend that you spoke to, it was on the podcast. His brother.
Okay.
His brother told me, he said, yo, sometimes, he said, the best way to kill somebody is to kill them living. He said, you give them something that they going to have to deal with for the rest of their life.
That's craziness.
You know, that they're gonna have to remember. He said, let's give them a certain pain. You know, that I can tell this story.
And we might have to close with this too.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. So I ain't saying no names, so we don't
put the names out there.
Yeah. So we ain't got to worry about
friend,
this.
I'm going to tell you, the friend that he's talking about has one of the most vicious names that I ever heard in my life.
But I ain't even talking about him. I'm talking about his brother.
You talking about his brother, but I'm just letting you know that his nickname, him having a nickname, his nickname pretty much screams pain.
Right.
So,
exactly.
I'm gonna just put it like that.
But his brother got into an issue with somebody one time, right? This is all alleged, by the way. I don't know if this really happened.
Okay.
So anyway, he could have killed him. He chose not to kill him. Now he would have done it.
Yeah.
He ain't got no problem with that. What he did was he kidnapped the dude. This dude allegedly. He had this huge piece of land, and at the back, all the way at the back of his land, you know, sitting far away from his house, he had this shed that he called his torture shed. Oh, geez. Allegedly. Yeah. He would take people in there and torture them. He took this dude in there, tortured him for 3 days.
Jesus.
For 3 days. Came back that third day. He like wrapped him up like middle of the night, threw him in the trunk, took the dude back. He stripped him naked, took him back to his hood, and dropped him in the middle of the street, wrapped up, like taped up and stuff like that, naked but just taped up, and told him basically, I'm gonna let you live because I ain't worried about you coming back. You see what I'm made of, and what I'm capable of, and what I'll do. And you know, I know where not only you but your family, I know where everybody lives. You see how cold I am. I will go touch everybody around you.
That's cool.
So he told me, he said, man, best way to kill somebody is to kill them living. That pain needed to be felt. Now, I'll say this. When I tell that story without context, without knowing the entire story, it sounds like, your boy's crazy, right? Which, yeah, he is.
I've thought about doing this to a few people before.
Right, yeah. But
you know what I mean? I ain't gonna lie to you, like people that put me in certain situations and you know what I mean, and made threats on my life, or may have, you know, situations beefs that I might have been in, you know what I mean, instead of catching the body, I thought about really, you know what I mean, but you know, that goes without saying.
Right,
you know
of course. Yeah, that stuff goes through your mind. That's normal.
You think about all kinds of stuff that you won't necessarily do, but things that you might necessarily have to do. Right. And you feel like that you want to inflict this type of pain on a person to get them to see like what, you know what I mean, what could possibly happen, you know what I mean, and what you don't want to happen. You know? So,
I'll say this, that dude, he violated like majorly.
I'm sure.
That's why my boy had the reaction that he had. Then that's why he did what he did, to send that message. He was like, look, basically the pain needs to be felt. And never had another issue out of it. Dude disappeared, took his family and disappeared.
Let's allegedly disappeared because we don't want to. Act like
no. I mean, him and his family left town.
Okay. We want to make sure. We want to make sure we stipulate.
That's what I mean.
Why he disappeared or how. We don't want to. Yes. Somebody might investigate something.
Right. Exactly. They left town. Plus, I don't know. Is there statute of limitations on torture and kidnap? Because it's been a long time.
Just to be on the record, I've never tortured or kidnapped anybody, so I'm not sure. I may have mentally tortured somebody before.
Right. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've mentally tortured a few people in my time, but I've never physically tortured. Yeah, emotionally, definitely. Yeah. Definitely emotionally. And been tortured emotionally and mentally, you know what I mean, in my life. So
Yeah. But as far as that situation, it was all alleged. Actually, I think I just made it all up. And I have no recollection of the aforementioned events.
Me either.
Yeah.
I just forgot blank right now. I mean,
I think it was a movie that I saw. That's what it was.
That's probably what it was. Yeah, you was dreaming. You was dreaming.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Anyway, I appreciate, man. I like this, man. This is dope, man.
This felt good. I like this. I like this. Yeah.
Even though I'm comfortable in the studio, in front of the camera, this is the one-on-one thing. It's pretty dope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's a different podcast. You're used to doing the King's Layer podcast, but it's a different podcast for you, man. So, this is dope.
So give everybody some everybody that don't know, any new listeners, any new people, what the podcast is all about and everything like that.
So basically what this podcast is called Quotes and Mirrors. What we do is we take quotes and we break them down. We look at it from my perspective, his perspective. We and then then we pretty much we agreed. We didn't. There wasn't any discourse here.
No.
But the
usually I love the add pushback.
Right,
I'm
exactly.
a pushback king.
Right. Yeah. You
pause.
are.
I don't know if that's a pause.
No. It's definitely a pause.
Yeah.
It's definitely a pause. But when me and my cousin, who is the normal host on commentary,
I love that name too.
Yeah, I know, right? Because his name is Terry.
Name is Terry. Yeah.
So, but with me and on commentary, we have this, oftentimes we don't always agree on everything, and that's when it's just podcast gold. Because he is very black and white. I live in the gray area.
Okay,
I live in that gray area, and
to me there is no gray line. I'm either always black and white.
Really,
there is no gray line. Yeah.
See, and
it either is or it ain't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And for me, I look at that as don't take this the wrong way. I look at that as arrogant.
Why you say that?
Because to me, that is thinking for somebody else. Like if I say, well, I feel this way, and you tell me, no, it's either this or that. My response is going to be, you can't tell me how to feel. You can't tell me how to think, and I will immediately. I've told people plenty of times, you are not allowed to think, speak, or feel for me because you want to get it wrong.
You know why I say that? Because in with everything having a duality, right? You got light, you got dark. You know what I mean? Even when something is dimly lit, it's still lit. So that's not gray. It's still lit. It's still not gray. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about the color gray. I'm talking about blended. So it's like, can you love and hate somebody at the same time? Really, like honestly, can you love and hate somebody at the same time?
I think that there are situations where it is black and white. Let me say that. Let me make that clear.
You understand what I'm saying?
Because I don't think that you can love and hate somebody. But there are 8 billion people in this world. I can't speak for everybody.
That's true.
Maybe somebody does love and hate somebody.
Yeah. But I'm just giving you my perspective.
I've had women tell me I love you just as much as I hate your ass.
Yeah, but so, that's dictated by the circumstance.
Right, exactly.
So one day somebody can tell you they love you, the next day they can tell you they hate you, they hate your fucking guts, and that's dictated on the circumstance. How do you love and hate somebody at the same time? Like I said, it's either black or it's white. It's either light or it's dark. You know what I mean? Even if it's dimly lit, there's still light there. You know what I mean? Right. The darkness is in the background, but there's still light there, so it's lit.
But that right there is enough for me, because that adds a third option. Because you said either black or white, so either dark or light. But if it's dimly lit, that's something in the middle.
Is it in the middle?
That's why. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. Because if it's complete darkness and it's completely bright, those are two ends of the spectrum. So anything else has to fall somewhere in between.
Okay. So because that goes back to the question, like, and that could be another quote. Like,
I was about to say, we lead into another quote here.
The glass half empty or is the glass half full?
Yo, you know what's so funny, man? I'm going to tell you something, and then we can go ahead and close after this, because I tell you what, our next quote, that should be the next quote.
That's dope. Yeah, we can do that.
But
we can do that.
I remember when I was younger and I was going through all the shit I was going through, and I had such a negative outlook on life. And somebody asked me one time, they said, is the glass half empty or half full? And I said, I don't really give a damn if it's half empty or half full. There's poison in that glass. Like, that's just how I looked at life.
I feel you. You went through a lot in life, man.
Yeah, man. I went through some things, but I don't wear my scars, and that's what's important.
Man, I feel like with life, you know what I mean? I want to end with this. Well, I mean, it's your pod, so we can. But
no, you can do it. It's cool.
I feel like with life, you know what I mean? this is why I always tell people I have no regrets in my life. I wish that I can go back and do things differently, but how do you know when you go back and do those things differently that you're still going to end up in a better place or a worse place?
That's true.
You know what I mean? You can go back and say, I wish I didn't make that mistake that landed me in prison. But even if I didn't make that mistake, the next day I could have crossed the street and got hit by a fucking truck.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's that whole butterfly effect type thing. You know what I mean? If you go back and change something in the past, it's going to change everything in your future.
That is true.
You know what I mean? So I don't have no regrets. Whatever I did up until this point got me to where I am now. I could have got rich 10 years ago, but that don't mean that I'll still be here to this day.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, and that's how I look at life. You know what I mean? That's how I look at life. Like, no regrets, man. You know what I mean? You make your decision, you learn from your decision, and you keep it moving. You know what I mean? As long as you're breathing, you still got an opportunity to make it wherever you want to be at. You know what I mean? So
I can't wait to get to that point because I got a couple of regrets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, I'm just trying to learn to live with regrets.
You have to live with your regrets.
Yeah.
Your regrets, or is that pain? Those are the lessons. Those are some of the pains that you had to feel.
It's that full circle moment.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Those are some of the pains that you had to feel.
That
you know what I mean? To get to that point. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. We all wish that we can go back and do something different and think that it would change our outcome and our outcome would be different. But you can't say that. That's just thinking and
you just don't know.
Yeah, that's just you can't. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know whatever decision you make where it's going to lead you to, even if you make the right decision.
Right.
You can make the absolutely right decision to get up and go to work so you can feed your family and die that day.
Yep.
As opposed to like, damn, I don't feel like going to work. I should take the day off and live the next day. You just never know until the results give you how good of a decision that was.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, I'm not speaking on morally, because morally you can make good decision, but that's not necessarily meaning that it's the best decision for you.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So let me just end with that right there.
All right, cool. All right, so thank you for joining us. I'm Tyrell James.
I'm King Oglesby.
And on that note, and I quote, peace out.
Deuce.